I'm Stephanie Cole and I'm still obsessed with my puppy dog, Harry.
I'm Monique Hammond and I'm obsessed with chocolate-covered blueberries. This is the Modern Adult Podcast where we explore the modern adult landscape and ask the dumb questions about adulthood so that you don't have to.
We really have no dignity. This week we're chatting about stories that have shaped us and made us into the perfect beings that we are today.
Amazing.
Are you perfect, Monique?
I don't want to say yes, but
yes, we're perfect.
No, I have a long way to grow. I am still a little baby sapling that will become a beautiful oak tree in time. Life. It can change in an instant, and this week we're going to reflect on a few life-changing moments that shaped who we are today. So we're going to go through a positive thing that shaped us, a negative thing that shaped us, and a small thing that had a huge effect on who we are today.
Okay, you go first.
Okay, so first off, we're going to start with the small thing that had a big effect. So I think a really small thing and a basic thing for everyone that really just shaped who I am today is that I learnt how to read. So I know that sounds dumb because everybody knows how to read, but for me, reading as a child was like a massive escape. Like I would read literally one book a day because I had a really long bus trip to and from school, and I would spend that time reading. I would wander around my farm reading and just consuming that amount of creative content, I think really changed my life, and it made me into someone who knows a lot of stuff. And I think, that's great.
So I just have to interject for one moment. That's really funny because every time we have creative meetings for anything, you come in and you're like, I'm not creative, but here's my opinion.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I do sometimes feel insecure about my creativity, but
why?
I don't know, because I'm fucking excellent at it. Anyway, I shouldn't be insecure. I'm kidding. I'm not that great, but
actually, when you plan podcasts, though.
Yeah, well, look, my podcast planning, not that great, but other creative things, a bit better. But I feel like when I was a kid, I was this annoying little font of knowledge. And I was always coming up with these facts, and people would be like, how do you know that? And I was like, I read it in a book once. And that's still a family joke about me. Is that when I say a fact, they're like, how do you know that? And the answer always is, I read it in a book once. And that's literally summed up me. It was just I read everything, and I just knew so much because I just was so hungry for knowledge, and reading gave that to me.
You must have been the most annoying kid.
Oh, I was fucking awful. I was the most irritating thing ever, but whatevs. I'm slightly less irritating now probably.
Maybe. Now we have a podcast to be
Now annoying. I have a podcast and I take my opinions to you. What was your small thing that had a big effect?
Okay, so my weird thing is that I used to be obsessed with the TV show Gilmore Girls. And if you haven't watched Gilmore Girls, it's about a mother and daughter's relationship in a small town, and it's just all family drama, and it's just essentially about their relationship. The gag of the show was that they're essentially best friends, and there's not much of an age gap between them because the main character Lorelai had Rory, her daughter, when she was a teenager. What I loved about this show was just the quick-witted style of writing, and it really kind of introduced me to strong female characters, and I just became obsessed with one, the characters, and two, just the world that they were in and all the things that I was learning from these amazing female characters. And so that really kind of sparked my love for kind of television and strong female women on screen and comedy in general. And it made me want to pursue television and making other people feel a sense of belonging and comfort, because for me as a teenager, it was kind of a place that I could escape to. And I think I wanted to always create that kind of feeling for other people if they were kind of struggling themselves. So now how that's manifested in my life is that now I'm pursuing creating television or web series, and I think that's just, it's a small little thing, just watching a little TV show, but it can really make an impact in people's lives.
And I think that's something that does have a huge impact in people's lives. Like, there's so many people that are like, this show changed the way I think about stuff. And like, for me, it was books. Like, this book changed my life.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it's so interesting how the media, like, that we consume, like, just, well, it's probably not crazy, but it feels crazy sometimes to be like, that affected me that much. Like, it's wild.
And that's why you should never pass someone off when they're like, this is like my favorite show ever and here is why. And to you, it might be annoying that this person is like just chattering away about a TV show or a book, but it can really affect people and their lives. And I think it's just like,
but
really
also
mean.
At the same time, I don't want to hear about how The Office changed your life.
I love The Office.
I know. The Office is great. It changed everyone's life. I don't want to hear about it. Thank you. So sick of fucking The Office. And The Office changed my life too, but I don't want to talk about it
for the worst.
No. I really liked The Office. It was great. I cried for Scott's tots. I couldn't couldn't cope. But The Office changed everyone's life. It's gone now. We don't need to keep talking about it. Move on. Thank you. Bye. Anyway, Steph, a really negative thing that changed your life.
Okay. I think I've talked about this on the podcast way too much. It's really boring. So I'm going to just say it and then we'll move on to yours. Mine was obviously like my mom passing away. That was like a major thing that impacted my life. It impacted me as a teenager, as a child, and now as an adult. I'm always like sad that I'm missing out on experiences that other people get. And it has now impacted my life quite a big deal, but it's okay because I'm finding ways to kind of fill that void in my life through, like, my grandmother was always someone who kind of stepped in and filled that position. And I think I'm learning now as an adult to appreciate that a lot more. So I'm trying to turn it into something positive in my life, because it's not the end of my world. It was the end of her world. So I'm trying to like turn it into something that I can create good things from a bad situation.
That's such a good sentiment.
Yeah.
It's not the end of your world.
Yeah.
Oh.
What's yours?
Mine is a really negative thing that happened. And then I feel like it made like probably the most wonderful positive change in my life of all time. So not sure how much I've talked about this, maybe just alluded to it, but like I had really severe depression as a teenager. Like, yeah, not great. And I feel really uncomfortable talking about it, but I had really severe depression. And at one point I overdosed to try and kill myself, and I went into a coma, and it was awful. I'm sure. Probably not for me. I was in a coma, so I wasn't feeling anything. And I woke up from the coma and I was kind of like, that was nothing. Like, I was in a coma. I couldn't feel anything. It was like, it was like going to sleep. And then I woke up and I was like, I don't want that anymore. And then from that day forward, I like put a lot of effort into going to therapy and recovering from that and becoming a good person. That's like the defining moment of when I stopped being a cunt and became a good person, was after that. And it was this hugely negative thing that I had done in trying to off myself. And it turned out to kind of be the best thing I ever did. Luckily, I survived and turned my life around from that. Just kind of wild to think about.
Can I ask a question that might not be appropriate? I'm just curious.
Yeah, go for it.
When you said you were in a coma and there was nothing, were you like dreaming?
No, there was nothing.
Really?
So it's just nothing. Like, there was no pain. There was no panic. I woke up knowing that time had passed.
That's interesting.
But for me, it was nothing. And it was incredibly peaceful. And I kind of like, right after I woke up, in the back of my mind, I wasn't I'm not afraid to die now. I know that sounds like really stupid, but like I'm afraid of dying. Like I'm afraid of being in pain and leaving and being hurt, but I'm not afraid of being dead now because I suspect it feels a lot like being in a coma, and being in a coma is like super peaceful.
Right.
Yeah. So
did it just feel like a deep sleep to you?
It almost didn't feel like a sleep at all. It was just nothing.
Right.
Like I can't describe it better than that. It's just pure nothingness.
Okay, so can you talk me through the moment you woke up and you decided to make that kind of change in your life? How did that kind of
Well, I woke up and
about?
I felt super peaceful and I was like, that didn't hurt. That's not the worst thing in the world. I'm going to die, but I don't want to do it now. I think that was the thing, was like, I'm going to die. It's going to feel like that. And I don't want to feel like that soon. So I decided that I didn't want to die now. And because I didn't want to die now, I put a lot of effort into not wanting to die, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that manifested by going to therapy, really like actually engaging with it. Like I'd done therapy before, but I don't think I'd engaged with it the way I had. I took a really hard look at how my actions had affected people and made a decision to change that. And slowly I got better, and like I am way better now.
Yeah.
And yeah. So really negative thing, really positive outcome, except for being in a coma. That was like probably not good for you.
Yeah. I think we spoke about this in another episode, that making changes in your life is like stretching a muscle and whatnot. And I think a part of that kind of journey is having these moments of realization where something clicks for you, where something finally makes sense.
Yeah.
And you're always going to go backwards sometimes, but unless you keep kind of moving forward and pushing yourself to kind of get better, like for you, you had to go through that horrible experience for it to click.
And it did click after that. I was kind of like, holy shit, like this is like, I'm going to die anyway. Like, and I think that's the thing, is I'm going to die anyway. Like, kind of why rush the process? And it sounds terrible, but I kind of, nothing really matters. Like, I don't want to get deep into I don't want to get deep into an existential crisis, but like we're literally tiny little bugs, like flying through space in infinite reality. Your life kind of means nothing. And once you realize how little your life means, it's kind of like, it doesn't matter that I fuck this up because I'm going to die anyway and no one's ever going to remember. It's fine. And I think that gave me the power and confidence to change my life. And I know that's like really wild and probably disheartening for a lot of people. It's like nothing you do matters, but literally nothing you do matters. And like that makes it easier to do things because there's no more pressure.
You have this like you have this crazy clarity now on everything, which is cool.
Yeah.
In a weird way.
But it's also like kind of confronting. So I don't recommend anyone have a near-death experience and then like change their life. But that's literally what it was. It was a near-death experience. Guess what? Nothing matters. So I can do whatever I want now. And I am.
Yeah.
And it's fine. And I think maybe I should think about that more. But also it's kind of traumatic. So maybe not. But anyway, so we wanted to end the podcast on a light note and not think about various people dying or nearly dying. So yeah, let's talk now about a positive thing that really affected your life.
I think the most positive change or some positive story or thing that has changed my life and who I am as a person today was meeting my partner, Kate, because before I met Kate, I think I had lost a lot of my identity and who I was due to like past relationships and whatnot. And so there was a period of time where I had to unlearn a lot of things about how I treat others, how I care for others, how I can care for myself. And during that time where I was recovering from a past relationship, I met Kate. And during that time, she was able to kind of like help me love myself so I can love somebody else better. And so that was probably the most positive thing out of meeting Kate was her kind of teaching me to be more compassionate and to, I don't know, she's just like a really good person. And
yeah, she is.
Yeah, I just like love everything about her, and knowing her has made me want to be a better person because I can see the kind of the only way I can describe it is that she's just like radiates so much like positivity and love and kindness, and the way I see other people affected by that is the impact I want to have in this world.
That's adorable.
Yeah, and so knowing her has made me realize that I want to have that same impact as well. And so, I don't know, I've tried to kind of model myself a little bit
after her.
Yeah, after her. And in the process, like learning who I am as well. And that has come from me trying to explore a lot of like my passions. And that's why I do a lot of the time kind of overwork myself. It's not half the time it's me being anxious that I'm missing out on something, but other half is me trying to explore who I am as a person and what I love to do. So the other side of that is so that I can be confident in who I am, so I can be able to support the life I'm building with Kate as well.
That's adorable. Yeah. That's a good goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's yours?
I think something, maybe this is also something really small, but had a big effect. But one of the most positive things I've ever decided to do was like do my film degree. Mm-hmm. So I kind of didn't necessarily want to do a film degree. I kind of just needed to do something. And like I had gone to uni previously studying a radiography degree. And I had lots of friends at that uni, and like I knew a lot of people that were doing film, and I was like, that's interesting. Maybe I'd rather do that. And then I dropped out of that degree for various reasons, and I moved back to Perth, and I was like, I should do a degree because, you know, that's what you do when you're like middle class. You just do a degree because fuck debt. And so I was like, I'll just do a degree. I don't know what I want to do. So I kind of picked film, but also kind of didn't commit to it. And then I did it. And I was like, I really enjoy this. I'll do more. And then I dropped my writing degree that kind of came along with it and just decided to focus on film. And I've really like found my passion and true calling from that. I know that sounds like really dumb, but like, I don't know, it really like it changed my perspective, and like it really changed what I wanted to do with my life, because like teenage me would be like, you did a film degree? That's so random. And like adult me is kind of like, that was really random. But yeah, it was such a positive decision to just go back to uni and do that. And I met so many wonderful people and like had so many great opportunities, and yeah, it's been really good for me. So I'm glad I did that.
I like hearing about people's passions.
Yeah.
It's so lovely. But it also goes to show that like when you grow up, you only know what you know. And that's why so many people go down the path that they do. But when you talk to people who really kind of push themselves to, I don't know, meet new people or go on like wild adventures or like try new things just to see if they like it or not, they end up being happier people because they're pursuing what they want to pursue because they know the alternatives and they dislike the alternatives.
Totally.
And they really know what they want to do because of that. And that's something I'm very passionate about working out as well.
Yeah. Passionate about working out what your passions are.
Yes.
I love it. But yeah, so that's good. We've both had such rich and interesting lives. Yeah. Aren't we fascinating? Isn't everyone glad to have listened to us? But really, it would be awesome like for everyone to think about those things. I think sometimes you're just so caught up in the present and like obviously don't dwell on the past, but like, I don't know, it's interesting to look back at the decisions or the things that have happened to me and be like, I can pinpoint like how that affected who I am today. And that's kind of cool to kind of acknowledge that. So yeah.
And I think maybe a challenge to everyone would be, even if you don't want to like completely start a new hobby, but to like just like, for example, like I did a film degree the same as Monique, and I always thought I wanted to go down the path of like either writing or doing cinematography. And I was always disinterested in audio and like producing, I don't know, like sound design work. And now I do it like 90% of the time because I realized one day that I fucking love working with audio, and that's why I produce a podcast now and I do all this kind of work. And if I hadn't kind of just like pushed myself to kind of explore a different avenue just for like the sake of it, then I would never have discovered that I like doing this. So maybe a challenge for anyone is to kind of just observe what you're doing now and can you make a slight change in it to discover something new about yourself.
That's it for today's episode, and you've been listening to Modern Adults. If you'd like to stay in contact or share your thoughts about the episode, head to our Facebook page, Modern Adults Podcast.
If you like what you hear, please leave a review on iTunes and spread the word, and maybe we can shape each other's lives together. Well, before you go and trot on off, I know it's very tempting to just click off the podcast right now, but I just wanted to let you know that that's the end of season 1. Of course, we'll be back for season 2 in due time, but I just wanted to let you know that that's the end of Modern Adults for a little while, but don't you worry, we'll be back soon enough with bigger and better episodes. In the meantime, if you did want to message us with your thoughts or suggestions or things that you want to know in season 2 of Modern Adults, please don't hesitate to email us at modernadultspodcast@gmail.com or hit us up on social media at Modern Adults Podcast. And we really hope to hear from you soon. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for listening to season 1 of Modern Adults. It's been a really fun ride and we can't wait to come back and do an even better job. Thank you so much and we'll see you soon.